Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States
United
of America,
of
to the
and
republic
to the
which it
for which
stands,
it's
one nation,
one
under God,
under
indivisible,
God,
liberty, justice for all.
indivisible,
All right. Just a
liberty
reminder, if everyone could please mute
for all.
yourself if you're not speaking. So welcome to the Frederick County delegation meeting. I want to apologize in advance. I'm having to work remotely. Obviously, we're all working remotely, but I'm not in my office, and I'm definitely not in the chamber, as it indicates behind me. But we're happy to have everyone here. We have a busy agenda. We're going to get through it quickly and have a productive meeting. So the first item on the business is something that we've kind of rehashed the last couple of weeks. It's the final letter to the MDE for Middletown. As I understand it, we've gotten feedback from both Senator Young, Senator Lewis Young, Senator Folden, Delegate Fair. We worked with Paul from Middletown, and I understand that the draft we have is good and copacetic for everyone. Is that right, Paul?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So are there any questions or issues from the members? That draft was sent to you on Wednesday, or can we do a motion to approve? And I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
Okay. I believe that's Delegate Kerr. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, that is Delegate Miller. So there's a motion, a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, and we're going to do this by acclamation, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, Paul, we'll get that signed today, and we'll get that to your office. Thanks for your patience.
Thank you very much, Chair Pippy and delegation members. Very much appreciated.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right, we're going to move into the meat and potatoes of the agenda. So we have LR 1947. This is the alcoholic beverages stadium license. This is what this bill is. Currently, the Frederick Keys Stadium is permitted to sell beer and wine only. What they want to do is they want to have the ability to sell canned mixed drinks. So it's like it's not like hard liquor in a sense that they're in glasses with ice. It's a canned beverage that falls under the category of liquor. So they want to upgrade their alcohol license, similar to other stadiums in the state, and it requires a state law change. So that is that bill. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about that? And this is obviously something that we've heard over the past year when we met with the liquor board twice in the previous year. Any questions or concerns from the delegation?
No, I would move to approve.
All right, Delegate Valentine has a question. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The only question I had is the fee increase due to the fact that it includes liquor now?
Correct.
Thank
That is absolutely correct. And that is in line with other places in the state. That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep. All right, so there was a motion by Delegate Kerr. Is there a second?
I'll second. Delegate Miller.
All right, Delegate Miller seconds. Any discussion or further discussion? Are you guys comfortable with voting for this today?
I am. I'd just like to point out that that these are canned, pre-mixed cocktails. There will be no shots, nothing like that.
Yep, and it's again in line with other jurisdictions in the state that have similar stadiums. So this is something that they're seeking. All right, so there's a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Again, we'll vote via acclamation. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, good. That moves through. The next bill is another alcohol bill. It's LR 1948. It deals with the promoter's license. I'm sure Dawn can chime in if she needs to. From my understanding, this just clarifies some language for the board. As I understand it, before it had shall language in it. This just says it's may language, and it clarifies what a for-profit entity that is seeking a temporary license can get. Is that right, Dawn? Is there any other substantive information we should share?
No, sir, that is accurate. It is just simply a language change to say that we may issue a license. It didn't have that exact language in it, and the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission wanted us to put in that type of wording to say we can issue an actual promoter's permit.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions or concerns from the delegation? All right, hearing none, entertain a motion on this bill.
Move approval.
All right,
Delegate Miller.
Delegate Miller? Is there a second?
Second.
Senator Fold, thank you, sir. Any discussion? All right, again, we'll do it by acclamation. All those in favor of approving this signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And also, just for the clarification, these bills are going to go in the name of the Frederick County delegation, and we'll also have a cross file on the Senate side as well. But that's kind of included in what we're doing today. So, okay. All right, moving forward. LR 1997. This deals with property tax credit for property in historic districts. So for those of you that don't know, there is a property tax credit program in the state that I guess enables folks in Frederick County in certain places to take advantage of it. It's not being utilized. The county executive has requested us to give them the ability to make it more flexible so that more folks can take advantage of the tax credit in Frederick, which hopefully could be a good thing. Are there any questions from the delegation on this bill? All right, I just will say this just for the good of the order. I'm hoping that any changes we do will be for giving more folks tax credits. I'm not sure how many individuals utilize this program now. Maybe somebody from the county executive office just very quickly can chime in on that.
Hi, this is Sarah Price from County Executive Office. So this tax credit has only been utilized 17 times since it was instituted. The last use was in 2009. So we're hoping that with this bill, we'll be able to make it more accessible for people.
And we want more people to have tax credits in Frederick, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. Entertain a motion on this bill if the delegation so wishes.
Move approval.
Delegate Miller, motion.
Second.
And Delegate Valentine seconds. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor by acclamation signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you from the County Executive's Office. The next bill is LR 2514. That's 2,514. There's a lot of bills this year. This says boundary of the Frederick Soil Conservation Districts. So for those of you that don't know, there are soil conservation districts throughout the state. There are currently 2 throughout Frederick County. What this bill does is it combines the 2, strengthens them into one. As I understand it, this is supported by the local farmers and the Farm Bureau, but I think there are some folks here from the Soil Conservation District. If you can just give us a very, very brief summary of what this bill does and how it's beneficial for the delegation.
Thank you, Chair Pippi, and delegation members. Mike Mason here on behalf of MASCD and the Frederick County Soil Conservation Office. We have Heather Hutchinson, the district manager, and Ben Sowers and Scott Hipkins on from both districts. Essentially, we are combining the Catoctin and Frederick SCD office into one for operational purposes. We were alerted by the Department of Agriculture that we had to make a statutory change in the agriculture article under the Conservation Code. We just yesterday received the certificate of constitution from the Secretary of State's office. So everything is moving forward on that. I will let Heather speak very briefly about the public input process and then make ourselves available for any questions.
Go ahead, Heather.
Thank you. So this whole process started back in, it was launched in November of 22. At that time, we opened a petition. We were required to receive signatures of 25 landholders in the Catoctin district and 25 landholders in the Frederick district in order to move forward with holding a referendum. We received the required number of signatures and submitted the application to our state soil conservation committee in May of in May of 23, and then the referendum was held in July of 23. The landholders, all landholders in Frederick County were eligible to vote. We had 151 votes in favor and 75 against. That enabled the State Soil Conservation Committee to move forward and determine whether it was administratively feasible to join the districts. And they did make that decision. And we submitted our application to the Secretary of State. And that, as Mike mentioned, we received our certificate of constitution yesterday. I do believe this is a good thing for all of Frederick County. It increases the efficiency at which we're able to make decisions. I don't have to take a decision to one board and then wait a week to have the other board decide, and then maybe wait another month before I go back and report, any disagreements or have to schedule a joint meeting. It won't have any effect on either the urban or agricultural clients that work with our office. We have essentially been operating as one board for many years. Going back to the 80s, the two boards have shared staff and a district manager. So this just kind of makes everything a little bit more efficient.
Okay. Heather, does the Frederick County Farm Bureau weighed in on this?
They have. Actually, their president is the former district manager. So they were all eligible to vote. And they're well aware that we are in the process of merging.
So sorry, I have to ask. So is the Farm Bureau, are they in favor of this? Like, have they voted, and then as that group would submit a letter to the delegation in favor of this?
I don't believe they voted on it. We could certainly request a letter.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, unless the other delegation members have any, my thing is just that, for things like this, generally we put something on the agenda, and then we discuss it, and then we can put the vote at the next meeting if there's any kind of loose ends. I personally would feel more comfortable if the Farm Bureau officially had a position on it. Just because you had mentioned, what was the vote, 100 to 75 or something like that?
Yeah, 151 to 75.
Okay. Does any other delegation members have any questions for these folks? So, would anyone in the delegation be opposed to moving the final vote on this till next week, and then we can get the feedback from the Farm Bureau in the meantime? Okay.
I make a motion. That
Mike, okay. All right. Thank you, Senator Folden. Is there a second on that? Second from, I think, Senator Reedy. Any discussion on that motion? Okay. So, Mike, what we're going to do, Mike Mason, we'll put this on the agenda for Friday for next to vote, which is pretty typical for most things. But if you could get the Farm Bureau to send my office their position on it, that would be helpful. And I think that's probably the last loose end.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll get one from the state and one from the local Farm Bureau chapter.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys, and obviously, the delegation, wants to be supportive, especially of the agricultural community. So thanks for all you do. Senator Folden, did you have a quick question?
Quick question, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to see if they could provide, if there was 75 dissenting votes, 151 for, we're just, obviously, the way I look at this, I didn't see any unintended consequences, but there was a reason 75 people were opposed. And was there a constant theme as to why those people were opposed?
Can I speak, Heather?
Yes, please.
So, the history of the soil conservation districts are, there's two valleys in Frederick County, the Catoctin side and the Frederick side. Catoctin had their soil conservation starting in the late 30s in Middletown. Frederick started from Monocacy, coming from Montgomery County that way, and they came up and they had a referendum back in 1939 to make the Frederick Soil Conservation District. So the descending votes, if you went and talked to most of the farmers in this area, it doesn't matter to them, because the soil conservation handles their stuff regardless. They're not going to see any change. The descending votes came from people in the Catoctin district that are historians. They don't want to see Catoctin district go. They don't help with it anymore. They don't do any of this, but it's all the way back to 1939. And my grandfather or my great-grandfather started Catoctin. My grandfather was on it. I'm on it. My grandmother absolutely disagrees with it, just because of the family history. And a lot of those dissenting votes came from that side of things, where they went out and just got landowners to sign that didn't mean anything. They didn't know anything about it. They just said, yep, okay, we'll sign this thing. Anybody that lived in Frederick County could vote for this thing. So that's where the dissenting votes come from. I got to live with my grandmother not liking it, but we have to be fiscally responsible. We cannot continue to run 2 boards and 10 people get paid to do the same job that 5 people can do. And there's a lot less farmers now. So one board is it's being responsible. And
I appreciate that. I appreciate the insight. And like I said, we'll just wait to hear from the Farm Bureau. That'd be a big help. So thank you, Ben.
Yep, no problem.
All right. Thank you, sir. So the next bill, LR 1859, this is the assignment of the offenders to road work. This is a bill that we discussed at last week's meeting. I think the only request was that they change the title, which appears to have been done. Delegate Fair, go ahead, sir.
Just would like to move approval.
All right, there's a motion for approval. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Oh, sorry.
All right, Delegate Kerr, second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor by acclamation to move this bill forward as a delegation bill signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, congratulations, Delegate Simpson. We'll move that forward. The next bill is LR 1998. This is acceptance of credit as payment. Senator Lewis Young, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. My very diligent staff did some research on this. They were aware that I had some concerns, dug into some files in my office from my predecessor, and found an AG opinion from a very similar bill a few years ago stating that credit cards could not be accepted for gaming. And we wanted to be doubly sure. So Andrew Burgoyne, who I believe is on somewhere on the screen, contacted the library just to verify it. And Title 12 of the Maryland Code, Gaming Statewide Provision, I just want to read you the relevant sentence. An organization that operates a gaming event authorized under this subtitle 2 of this title, or 13 of this article, may not accept credit cards from a person to allow that person to play a gaming device at the gaming event. So it would seem to me that, and if we have the delegation attorney on, they could offer a legal opinion that we would have to change state law in order to allow this to happen.
Okay. Is our delegation attorney on?
Can you repeat which title you were reading?
Yeah, Maryland Code Criminal Law 12-108, gaming event acceptance of credit. I can have Andrew's on. I'm fairly certain I can have him send it to you.
So, Senator, did you reach out to Sandy Brantley at the AG's office for an opinion?
No, because we already had an opinion from years past. We just wanted to verify it. We verified it through the library.
Okay.
We just got it back yesterday.
All right. So I'm going to come back to you on that. Senator Fulton, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. One word I'm picking up specifically out of that language is that it's a gaming device. It's my understanding that these fire companies were not trying to use it for a gaming device, but for being able to utilize that payment to buy into their raffles or things of that nature. But it's not a gaming device. The gaming device is a very specific part of that.
Okay, I would recommend that we get a legal opinion again, because if we vote on this and move it forward and then find out it's in violation of state law, it's not a good look for us.
Well, and I just want to, and I appreciate that. I just want to point out that the intent of the bill is to change state law. I mean, that's what so I mean, it would only be
a local delegation cannot change a statewide law.
Oh, you're saying it's a statewide. Okay.
It's a
I see what
state
you're saying. I see what you're saying. Okay. Delegate Fair, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling that Senator Lewis Young's path might be the best option here, just to make sure we have all of our bases covered. Submit this actual piece of legislation to the Attorney General's office and ask them to weigh in whether or not this is if this circumvents the state law, or whether or not it doesn't. To Senator Folden, I heard the exact same word you did. I would be curious to see what the Attorney General thinks of that word as far as what a gaming device is as well.
Yeah, I'm getting a text here that says that the bill would change section 12-108, but Mason, Councilman Carter, would you like to offer a few words?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to thank you all for your diligence here. And I want to address a question that Senator Folden had last week that I have received confirmation about, asking about whether this is just credit cards or not. And well, this bill would indirectly enable our volunteer fire companies to accept debit cards, as they're not able to, the processors are not able to make the distinction between credit and debit at the point of sale, according to Jim Graham of the Volunteer Fire Company in Walkersville. So, and then again, this is just for raffles. So it's my understanding that the language device would not apply to what we're seeking to accomplish here. But if it is the AG's opinion, if we go to them, and we make this a statewide bill to satisfy what Senator Young is speaking about, that's something we are certainly okay with doing.
Thank you, Councilman. Dwayne, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, so the bill as drafted is making a specific exception for Frederick County fire companies and Frederick County volunteer fire companies. So current subsection A would no longer apply to these specific companies in Frederick County. So it would be legal if this bill passes.
Yeah, I mean, we are we are lawmakers. For those of you on the call, that's what we do. We can change laws so they're no longer illegal. But I would, unless any other delegation members have a question, what we can do, listen, I'm happy. We still have time, Councilman Carter. I mean, our office can email the draft to Sandy Brantley today, and we can probably get a response pretty quickly to see if there's any concerns, and then we can get this voted on before the drop deadline. So if you're okay with that, and the delegation prefers that route, I'm happy to do that. And it doesn't hold you up or anything like that. Are you okay with that?
Certainly, whatever makes you all comfortable.
Okay. All right. And then I think it did answer the question about the debit situation, because not all uses of a card is for credit purposes. For example, I don't carry cash. I have one card, which is a debit/Visa card, and I make all my purchases, and it's not on credit. It's coming right out of my checking account. So that's good that you clarified that, because I know we had some discussion. So, all right. So what we're going to do is we're going to send this to the AG's office today. We'll get a response. We'll send that directly to you, sir. We'll get this back on the agenda, and we'll get it voted on. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, sir. Okay. Moving on to the last legislative item we have on our agenda for today, which is the truancy reduction pilot program. I don't know if Judge Raymond is on, a newly appointed Judge Raymond, but do any delegation members have any questions about this program We tabled it from last week. Go ahead, Senator Lewis Young.
I just wanted to let you all know that Judge Brubaker is in Annapolis. She's getting onboarded today. However, she has sent some people that are very involved in the program, just in case there are further questions. I don't have a list right in front of me who they are, but I know it is the Frederick County woman who is in charge of, Lynn Davis, that's it, our mental health expert in the county. And I believe there are 2 other people involved in the program as well. And so if there are further questions, Jay Hessler, thank you. And there could be a third, but I know these are the 2 primaries that Judge Brubaker sent. I saw she's answered many, many questions. And I do know that at one point a question came up about the General Assembly voting on it. And I just wanted to share this information with anyone that wasn't reading their email at 10 o'clock last night. It is actually passed unanimously in both chambers, but unfortunately not the same year. So the obstacle in the past has been, for those of you that haven't been around for a while, when something gets a late vote, frequently in crossover, it doesn't get voted the other side because we get a bit more focused on leadership's priorities. So it's never been very problematic. That was the point I wanted to make.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that. Delegate Fair, go ahead, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Lynn, it's good to see you. I do have a quick question. I wonder if you could speak to the efficacy of this program as far as increasing student enrollment and lowering absenteeism, and the effects of this program has had so far in Frederick County.
Thank you for that question. We provided 3 semesters of data that you may or may not have had a chance to look at, because that is the point. Does this actually increase student engagement and engagement in school? They're enrolled, but they're not attending. And so we have found that it has in about half of our students who've participated, and we don't feel like that's enough. And that's why we think that we really need a more formal process, because when parents are engaged and students are engaged, we have a chance to help them. And when they're just ignoring that, we don't. So we're looking for a more formal procedure.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are there any other questions for, I guess, the individuals that are here today on this bill from any other delegation members? All right. I have a couple questions. One, the bill doesn't indicate what the cost associated with this program and who, whatever that cost is, and then who pays for that cost. So I don't know if Lynn or anyone else here that's advocating for it can kind of share, what that would be and where that would come from.
I have not been involved in the budget request. Jay, do you have any idea on that?
Hi, if I may speak, I'm Sarah Kaplan. I'm from the Administrative Office of the Courts. I'm one of the other people that new Judge Raymond asked to please come here today. So once the bill passes, hopefully, the program will apply for a grant from the Problem Solving Courts Office at the Maryland Judiciary Administrative Office of the Courts. Expectation is the grant will be said yes, and there'll be a funding amount. I believe I'll get you the exact number. I don't want to misspeak about what the number is, but that initial funding amount will come out of the judiciary budget. There might be other funding that might come from other sources, but that initial operating thing to get the staff person, the coordinator, comes out of the grant that they'll apply for.
Okay, so that doesn't come from well, I guess technically we all pay state taxes, but it doesn't come out of the Frederick County budget or anything like that.
That is correct.
Okay, that's a plus. Senator, I guess in one more question, we talked about the efficacy. Is there anything prohibiting us from doing this work now? I mean, is there anything that stops us or inhibits us from doing this exact work now? Why do we need to officially incorporate this program?
If you want this program to operate within the juvenile court has a very direct and limited jurisdiction. It is set out in the Courts and Judicial Proceedings article, generally in titles 3-8 and 3-8A. What allows the juvenile court to hear the truancy cases as part of the juvenile court, as an official part of that court, comes out of the title 3-8C, which this bill would be amending. So you can have a different kind of a program, yes, and not be part of the juvenile court. But as Ms. Davis said, the view in Frederick County was they wanted something more. They wanted to have the juvenile court be a more official part of the program, and that's what requires the statutory change.
Okay. Any other questions from, I'm sorry, Senator Lewis Young, go ahead.
Yeah, in regard to your question about financing, I just wanted to read a sentence that Judge Raymond Brubaker sent to Delegate Miller yesterday. I think we requested $160,000 in our budget. In case it passed, Paul Wolford from Drug Court added it to his budget. The statute permits seeking out grant money to fund the program. So that, gives you a sense of where it comes from and what the dollar amount could be.
So it's grant money. I mean, they would seek out grant money. It's not like a mandate.
Correct.
And so that's important for me to know, and I don't know about the other delegation members, but the program is run at the efforts of them seeking out grant money. It's not a permanent mandate on taxpayers. Is that correct?
That's how I would interpret that.
So what happens now with the existing courts funded this way is that once a year we do the grant process. It's actually coming up in pretty soon. They'll submit their grants every year. They describe the program, excesses, practices, all that kind of neat stuff. They apply for a grant. We have meetings about who gets awarded the grants, and the grants get awarded. As it happens so far, all the grants have been awarded and continue, but that's part of the budget that the General Assembly gives to the administrative office of the courts. It comes out of that source.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Senator Fulton, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In light of, I would like to have something in writing that says this is monies that would come from the judiciary. These are grant funds, because with us being in this budget shortfall, the last thing I want to do is vote on something that puts something out there on somebody else's word. We're always wanting to have it in writing. I'd like to have it in writing and the associated amount with it. We don't have the fiscal note idea on what this would cost. So I just think in the budget crunch that we're in, I think as being responsible stewards of tax dollars, that we should look to have something a little more firm than someone's estimation. So that would be my recommendation, that we hold this until next week and allow us to get that information.
Okay, thank you, Senator. Delegate Miller, go ahead.
If that's a motion, I will second it because I had the same concerns and almost like cost per student kind of issues as well. So I'll make the motion then.
Well, let's do this. So I guess for just mechanical stuff. So Senator Fulton, not a motion. I guess you seconded. We're now in discussion, so we'll keep going. Delegate Fair, go ahead, sir.
I am comfortable moving forward with this today. I think that the advocates have done a pretty solid job of explaining the efficacy of this program. They've also pointed out that the funding mechanism for this is through grant writing. As somebody who runs a nonprofit, I can certainly appreciate that. That is not, we are not being stewards of taxpayer dollars, but rather we are allowing an organization to go out and find the necessary funds, which sometimes can be governmental, but sometimes can be non-governmental funding mechanisms to be able to fund a program like this. So I'm very comfortable with moving forward with this. I think that the advocates have done a wonderful job of answering all the questions that we have and concerns. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, sir. Senator Lewis Young. Oh, was your hand just up from before, Senator?
She appears to be frozen.
She's frozen. Okay. All right. All right. Well, here's what we got. We have a motion and a second on the floor to table it, which I think is probably more practical than forcing a vote on something that we don't have all the answers for, similar to the gaming bill or the credit as payment bill. So the motion is to, and here's what we should do in between is let's get from the judiciary. Our office will send them a request today to just get the confirmation on the how it's funded. We can get that straight from the judiciary, and that'll answer that question. And then also possibly give the judge an opportunity to come back if she has any other words next Friday. So the motion on the floor is to table it to next week. We'll get some information in between. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate the advocates coming out. Sometimes it's a longer process than we hope, but it's good to get all the questions answered. That way everyone is comfortable and we still have time. So thank you for that. All right. Well, miraculously, we got through our entire agenda. We do have a speaker today, U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen. Nan, is he here yet, or is he coming in at 9:30?
He's coming in, but I'm going to text him now to see if he can come in early.
Perfect.
Okay, thanks.
Kind of a rare occasion where we're early and we have extra time. Usually we have no time to do much. So.
Hey, Chair, I noticed that the work group bills were dropped. Were you still planning, for process purposes, the last vote on those work group bills for the sheriff's salary was a vote to reintroduce it in the same posture. But the delegation still needs to vote to approve those bills. So I don't know if you were planning to have that on the agenda next week or you wanted to do it now.
We can, I was under the impression that was the vote. We voted to
No, so the motion was to draft the bill in the same posture as Senator Lewis with the delegation as the sponsor. So
Okay.
there would still need to be another motion to actually approve the bills.
Okay. Well then let's so I apologize. I was under the impression that was the vote, but we can take care of that now. So
moved.
Okay. And that, just to be clear, that is a vote to move forward with the work group on the sheriff's salary as a delegation bill in both the House and the Senate. Is that your motion, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Senator Fulton, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Delegate Miller. We're now in discussion. Delegate Fair, go ahead, sir.
Sorry, I feel like I'm talking a lot today, but thank you, Mr. Chair. I am extremely uncomfortable voting on a bill that we don't even have in front of us. Regardless of the change that you all have outlined, we do not have a physical bill. We are literally voting on a bill that doesn't exist. And it was my understanding, as Dwayne has pointed out, that we simply voted to have the bill redrafted and that we would have an opportunity to look at the final draft of the bill before we actually voted on it. So I will certainly be a no voting today on a bill that doesn't exist. Thank you.
Yeah, and just for clarification purposes, we don't need a vote to have a bill drafted. So I wasn't sure why we didn't need to have a vote to have the bill drafted. We only need to have a vote to have the bill dropped. And that's why we were voting last week. So I'm not really sure, Dwayne, your interpretation is a little confusing to me, because we don't need a vote to have a bill drafted. We only need a vote to have a bill dropped. Obviously Senator Fulton could have requested that bill in his own name easily. And then we would have had to brought it back, but we actually voted as a full delegation to move forward with that bill.
So for clarification purposes, you don't need a vote to drop a bill. You do need a vote to send out a letter of approval to the standing committee. So usually standing committees require for local bills to have the approval of the local delegation.
So let me clarify. we need a vote to drop a bill as a Frederick County delegation bill.
No, you need a vote to send a letter of approval to the standing committee.
Okay. All right. I guess you're rewording it in a different way. That's fine. We voted to make it we voted as a delegation on that bill last week.
But the specific motion was to draft the bill in the same posture as Senator Lewis' bill. There was never a vote to actually approve the bill.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we have that's fine. And we'll take care of that. So we have a motion. Andrew.
Yes.
Do you have the language of that work group?
I can pull it up.
Go ahead and pull it up.
Yeah, give me 1 moment. It's not something I had in front of me.
You just go to the website.
Yeah, I got you.
Yep.
Delegate Pippi, the senator is on.
Oh, perfect. All right, Senator, give me 1 second, sir.
No,
we gotta take care of some local business.
I'm at your disposal. You got a lot going on, but whenever you're ready, I'm good. But I'm also I know you got business.
Yes, sir. Okay, so for the delegation, this is the same language that Senator Lewis Young brought to the delegation, has not been changed. So it's got 2 members from the House, 2 members from the Senate, staffed by the county executive. That's what we're voting on. Everyone's looked at this bill a million times.
The only change was sponsor.
The only change was sponsor. That's correct. So there's a motion. There's a second. Is there any further discussion on this bill? And I can't see hands, so Andrew, you might have to take that down for a second.
Call for a vote. Roll call.
Okay. All right, we're going to go through, we'll do roll call on this. All right, Vice Chair Folden.
Aye.
Delegate Boucher.
Oppose.
Delegate Siliberti. Senator Quarterman. All right, Delegate Fair.
Oppose.
Delegate Kerr.
Opposed.
Senator Lewis Young.
Opposed.
Delegate Miller.
Aye.
Senator Reedy.
Aye.
Delegate Rose.
Aye.
Delegate Simpson.
Opposed.
Delegate Tomlinson.
Aye.
Delegate Valentine.
Aye.
Delegate Wyville. Is he absent?
I believe he's absent.
I'm sorry, Valentine, is he absent?
I believe he's absent today.
Okay. All right, and the chair votes aye. So motion passes. I thought it was done last week, but there you go. Dwayne, does that suffice?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure the process was correct.
We appreciate you, sir. Thank you. All right, so that takes care of the business end of this. Senator Van Hollen, we're happy to have you, sir. The floor is yours.
Chairman Pippi, thank you, and thank you to all the members of the delegation for the opportunity just to meet with you for a short time this morning. I always like to try to connect early in the session. I remember very fondly my days in the General Assembly, and I'm always jealous of the fact that your ability to get things done in 90 days always puts us to shame on Capitol Hill. So thank you for the chance just to say hello, and also just to invite all of you, if there are any issues that are either of a constituent nature or a piece of federal legislation that impacts your work, please feel free to connect with me directly or with Nan Mann, who's been my ambassador representative in Western Maryland, and she's here with us as well. I just wanted to give you a brief update of where we are or not in the Congress right now, as it could impact some of your work. So, as you well know, in the last Congress, we passed an enormous amount of important federal legislation, and a lot of it on a bipartisan basis. Things like the Infrastructure Modernization Bill, the CHIPS and Science Act, Veterans Health Funding, and then we also passed the American Rescue Plan and the Inflation Reduction Act, which had provisions to reduce the cost of prescription drugs on Medicare and other things. A lot of those funds are in the pipeline, and I know that many of you are tracking it closely. I know the governor's team does, because it always finds its way into the Maryland budget. So I just wanted to mention that to you. And then there are also lots of opportunities for the state and for counties, whether it's Frederick or Carroll, to apply for the competitive portions of the funds in those provisions, especially the Infrastructure Modernization Bill. So I just wanted to lay that out. In terms of where we are right now, it's obviously a different political environment on Capitol Hill. And we are trying right now simply to prevent a government shutdown. Our fiscal year began on October 1st, and we are still operating under continuing resolutions. I mention this because the current continuing resolutions expire on March 1st for 4 federal agencies and March 8th for the remainder of the federal government. I serve on the Appropriations Committee. We're working hard to get an agreement to prevent any kind of shutdown. But obviously that impacts everyone in the country, but especially Maryland, given our large presence of federal agencies and federal employees. So we're working hard to avoid that, Senator Cardin and myself and others. The other reason it would be very important to get off of the continuing resolutions, which, as you know, just put last year's budget on automatic pilot, the reason to replace that with a fresh appropriation is nationally, of course, we need to address new priorities, but also since Congress restored a number of years ago the ability for us to do some directed funding to help local jurisdictions like Frederick or Carroll directly, earmarks. If we go to a continuing resolution, the approximately 14 million, 15 million or more earmarks that we've got for Frederick County and other Western Maryland counties will disappear. So, for example, last year we were successful at getting about $14 million for different projects in Frederick. For example, the Liberty Road Bridge crossing and the Frederick and Pennsylvania Railroad Trail. There are a whole bunch of them. That's one example. But my point is, if we don't have a new budget this year, we're not going to be able to do that kind of directed local funding for local priorities this year. So we hope to get a fresh budget for a whole variety of reasons. I did want to mention the what we call the SAFER grant funding. These are funds that come to firefighters. I want to salute the Frederick County and especially fire stations. They've been especially about $9.7 million to help hire over 32 additional firefighters. This is a federal program, and we're working to make sure that we continue funding for that at the federal level as well. And we had a ceremony where we honored Frederick firefighter Josh Laird, who, as many of you know, died tragically in the line of duty 2 years ago. And as they looked into the different clauses, one of the decisions was to increase staffing. And so that's why we've been focused on the SAFER grants for Frederick County, especially. The other thing I will mention is, given the great agricultural tradition in Frederick and other parts of Western Maryland, the Farm Bill is currently scheduled to elapse on September 30th of the current year. In other words, the authorization for the federal Farm Bill expires then. So we are working to try to extend that and all the provisions in it that are important to Maryland and obviously to other states in the country that have large agricultural sectors as we do. So those are a couple of the things. They're obviously a long list of items, but let me just close where I started, which is to thank you all for your good work and just to keep open a two-way line of communication on issues. We obviously have a deep interest in what you're doing for the state, and what we do at the federal level, of course, impacts your work as well. So let me turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions. I will say, and I don't know if he's joined you yet this year, but I do want to thank our senior senator, Ben Cardin. As you know, he announced he's not running for re-election, but I can assure you he is running very hard through the finish line, and we work very hard together on all things Maryland, including Western Maryland. Over to you.
We appreciate you being here, and I do want to thank the collaboration that you have with the legislators in Frederick County. Your office is very accessible. Nan Man is great. Everywhere I go, she is there. So Nan Man, there you go. That should keep you in that job for a while longer at least. But she does a great job. She represents your office well. And for those of you that don't know, Senator Van Hollen was in the legislature in Maryland like us. So he understands some of the challenges that we have. And I think he's been a good partner on local issues, and we appreciate your support there. So I would like the members, if you guys have questions for the senator, I think Senator Folden may have some, but feel free. This is a good opportunity. So go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for being on here today, Senator. It's always good to see you. And again, let me echo Chairman Pippy's comments. Nan is everywhere, so she represents you very well. Having said that, obviously you're aware of the funding issues that US 15 ran into with the removal of those funds, over $100 million on a much needed project, as well as even a little further west with the 8170 corridor. With the Amazon facilities going there, and there's no expansion slated for that several mile trek through the state between West Virginia and Pennsylvania. I would like to talk to you at some point, and then we can do it on a sidebar, because I have some concerns on these issues. So I would love to talk to you about them. And it goes into, I don't want to go into the weeds here, but there are some higher level issues that I think would be beneficial to discuss.
So, Senator Fulton, I welcome that opportunity. I'll ask Nan to set something up. It's as I mentioned, and we passed the infrastructure modernization bill. It's going to bring about close to $8 billion to the state of Maryland over the next 5 years in automatic funds, right? I mean, those go straight into the state transportation budget, and the allocation of those funds once it's at the state is a determination that the state makes, and as you know, the state Department of Transportation tries to reach out. So in terms of what got dropped and what got cut, I share the concerns you expressed about cuts. I'm happy to talk with you about other ways we can find resources.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Senator.
Of course.
All right, any other questions for the senator while we got him? All right, seeing none, sir, we appreciate you, and happy to get you out of here early.
Really great session. As I said at the beginning, I always I remember really fondly my time there, and I always marvel at your ability to get all done in 90 days. All right.
Okay. See you, sir. We appreciate you, and thanks for your support in Frederick County.
Of course. Thank you. Back at you.
All right. To the delegation, that concludes our meeting. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, Senator Folden. Is there a second?
Comments? How about comments?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. That's right. I apologize. We have public and member comments. So forgive me. So let's go to the public first. Nan Man, go ahead.
First, I'd like to say thank you guys for the kind words. I really appreciate that. And just secondly, to let you know that I am so accessible to you guys. Just let me know when. I think all of you have my personal cell phone number. So whenever you are in need of anything from the senator's office, just give me a call.
Okay. Thank you again. Are any other comments from any of the stakeholders on the call? All right. Senator Lewis Young.
Thank you. Two things. One is I wanted you all to know I have had a bill drafted, and it is entitled Bay Restoration Fund Authorized Uses Decommission of Wastewater Treatment Lagoon. So if our letter writing campaign is not successful, there will be a legislative route. That's one issue. I want to go back to the truancy reduction pilot program since I was frozen and couldn't get back in. I believe this is perhaps the most consequential piece of legislation to come before this delegation in 2 or 3 years. It gets our young people out of the school to prison pipeline by helping them get engaged in school again. I am disappointed on a number of levels. This bill has been held to a level of scrutiny that is unprecedented. Totally different standard. Every meeting we come to, there's a whole new round of questions. Joni Brubaker has been diligent about supplying information. There are pages, volumes, answering all of your questions. I don't know of an advocate that has supplied such detailed questions, and when she can't appear, she sends highly qualified advocates in her place. I'm hearing questions asked about fiscal notes. We don't raise about other bills. We're talking about $160,000, but we keep going round and round. I think we all know what's happening here. I'm disappointed. I really am.
Senator, don't
would block this. Shame on you and shame on those that are enabling this. You're not hurting me. You're hurting young people that need help. Thank you.
So let me clarify something, Senator. We're holding a bill for you as well. We're holding the credit card bill because you have questions as a courtesy to you.
No, go ahead and vote it.
The point is you have some questions and we want you to have an opportunity to get those questions answers. It would be decent of you to give the same courtesy to your colleagues that have questions about the other bill, respectfully.
We're talking about something legal versus illegal, and the particular legislation I brought forward has been voted unanimously by both chambers.
So, and just for
Apples
clarification,
and oranges.
Thank you, Senator. The truancy bill was not voted down. We're just getting more information, just like the other bill. But thank you, Delegate Miller. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to let you all know you should have some draft language to update the school construction work group recommendation piece. I was able to speak with the county executive today because it was Frederick Day. And so I do want to thank everyone who came out to bring us Frederick Day in Annapolis. It was so great to see everyone and be a part of that. So I was able to speak with the county executive, the county council president, the president of our board of ed, Paul Lebo at FCPS and the IAC. So I have sent them the draft language that I have come up with so far, and I'm entertaining feedback or any kind of input that they have. And then I hope to get that out to you by Wednesday morning at the latest so that we can put it on for a vote. I'm really appreciative of all the collaboration that has come out of that, and the conversations that I've had have been really great. And I think it's going to be a really great way to move forward for Frederick County, and actually hopefully a model for the state on how we address these issues in a extremely transparent way and hopefully innovative.
Thank you, Delegate. All right, Dwayne, for the final comments, sir, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, as we're moving into more amendment season versus bill season, all amendments for delegation bills should come directly to me, and I will handle them.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Again, I want to thank everybody in the delegation for moving through. Delegate Kerr, this your final bite at the apple, sir? Go ahead.
It is. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to remind everyone, District 3 night is Monday at 5 to 7 at Red Wine. Hope everybody comes out to visit us.
Of course, we're happy to support District 3. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Second. I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. I hope everyone has a safe weekend. We'll get back to work next week. Our office is going to take care of the 2 items for both the truancy court and the credit payment, and we will share that with the delegation members. And both those items will be on the agenda next Friday for a vote. So I thank you all for your participation today.